So now today and tomorrow we will be doing going through the practice teaching of the great Chungpo. In English it is called a precious garland of the supreme path. So as the topic given to me was relying upon a qualified spiritual guide and master. So relying upon a qualified spiritual guide. So there is nobody greater than Chungpo, who was the enlightened master. So relying upon his instruction to practice the Dharma, he's put down the practice in a certain number of points. So we go through that and try to adapt in our lives as much as possible. So Chungpo was already a great realized being, manifested to benefit beings. So at the time of Buddha, Shakyamuni, then one of his disciples, one of the Bodhisattvas, he was one of them. So he is the incarnation of one of the great Bodhisattvas during Buddha's time. So this disciple of the Buddha invited Buddha and his all the other Sangha over to his place and requested the Buddha to turn the wheel of Dharma there. And so when Buddha turned the wheel of Dharma and then asked in the group of his disciples and that is there anybody who would uphold and carry on this particular teaching to benefit beings. And at that time, then Chungpo, who was one of the disciples of Buddha, stood up in the crowd and he vowed to uphold this particular teaching and to spread the teaching to benefit all beings. So in accordance with this aspiration and this vow, then he was born he was born in the area called Nyal, which is in the central Tibet, in the year 1079. So he was born, and his family name was Dharma. So his first name, Dharma. So that was his given name, family name. The sutra that was taught at the time of Buddha, I forgot to mention, was related to medicine. So now as the birth that he took in the central Tibet, as a child he was given the name Dharma. He had very strong inclination towards medicine. So his father, right from very young age, put the child into serious education, gave him a very good education, and he was so interested in medicine that he took up medicine and very fast, rapidly improved and became a doctor. He had many teachers. He had many doctor teachers, out of which three main teachers was one from India, Indian doctor named Kime, The other one was the Tibetan doctor from the central Tibet, known as unserer, and the third one was a Nepalese doctor known as Vijay. So he had three main teacher, but of course he went to receive teachings from many other doctors from China, Tibet, all over. And he became a very well-known, renowned doctor, and he was called Chungpo Haji. Haji means doctor, and Chungpo is again the place of the name of the place, from particular name of the place where he is. So Chungpo, so the doctor from Chungpo, so he's known as the Chungpo Haji. Then at the age of 16, he got married. In the early days, people marry much earlier. Right? Nowadays, people marry more and more late. So at that time, he married at the age of 16 and had 2 children. So that way, so he was very successful. Successful in his life, in his practice, had a very good family. But at the age of I think 24 or 25. Then in that particular area was struck with epidemic, disease, and his wife and children all contracted this particular disease, and the medical, no matter what he tried, no matter what medicine they gave, wasn't able to save them. He was the best doctor, had the best instruments at that time, could create the best medicine, but no matter what he tried, it wasn't enough to prevent the most loved people in his life. That was his wife and his children. Then, at the time, when his wife contracted the disease, of course, no medicine would help. But she was, it was definite that she was going to die. She was suffering a lot, lots of pain, but for a long period of time, wasn't able to die. She was just not being able to die, but suffering. It was 100% that she would die, but not able to die. So then he started wondering, and then he asked, what is the matter? What is the matter? You have any, kind of worry or any kind of thing, to please, tell him. He would try to, he would try to solve those, which is quite true, because I have been to many places where people, pass away, and the state of your mind is very important. Somebody who has lots of attachment or holding on to something is very difficult to leave, the mind, very difficult to leave the body. Of course it will be, but at that moment it has a lot of difficulty. So same here. Then she said, I have no, regrets. I mean, regret as in, I have no problem with, leaving the wealth. I have no problem with leaving anything, but my biggest problem is you. I am afraid to leave you. Because you are very young. So I love you very much. So I love you so much that I cannot stand you from, separating from you. I cannot imagine you getting married again. Because you are so young, you are so handsome, you are bound to find somebody. I just cannot think of losing you this way to somebody else. So I have so much, kind of this thought, so much attachment to this. So that kind of held her from being able to leave her body. So then he promised her that he would never remarry again, and that he would, he would remain single, and so all these he promised to her. He promised that he would become a monk, and take a vow, and practice the Dharma to blend with beings and never to remarry again. So with this, then she was relieved, and then she was able to die. So straight after she died, then he went and received the ordination, monk ordination from a Kadamba master, and practiced the Dharma under the Kadamba tradition. And then so he was practicing that way for many years, very seriously, and as it is, he was already very highly educated. So he was able to contemplate and practice very well. And then one day, he was in retreat. He went into retreat, maybe in the caves or something like that, or I don't know. Maybe in a isolated house or something like that. And then when he was practicing in the retreat, he saw three beggars outside his retreat. And the three beggars were discussing amongst themselves. So the first beggar, they said, what they would wish, what they would want. They were talking about the wish. And the first beggar said, I would love to, if I was granted a wish, I would like to have a bowl full of tsampa. Tsampa is the Tibetan food you eat, right? It's a bowl full of nice tsampa, so that I can have a very hearty meal and share with all of you this. So a nice tsampa, a nice butter tea, maybe some dried yak meat, and then kind of share with all of you a nice hearty meal. So he wanted to wish that, the first beggar. The second beggar said, if we can wish for something, this is too small a wish. You can just have one hearty meal, then finish. That is too small. I would like to become a king. He said, I would like to become a king, be powerful and rule, and so that kind of power I would like to have. So I can have the power of good meal. I can have the power of a good place, lots of people under me. So I would like to have that kind of wish. Then the third beggar reflected and said, all this seems impermanent. No matter whether I am a king or not, I still have lots of problems. All this is impermanent. I can see problems. So he said, I would like to become like the great, Lord of all the yogis at that time, Milarepa. So Milarepa was there at that time and very well known. So he said, I would like to become like the Milarepa, who is free from all, kind of, all kind of sufferings, who is free from the samsara, who is enlightened. So I would like to become like him. Then if I become like him, then I will be free of all suffering and enjoy ultimate happiness. So I would like that kind of wish to appear or happen. So that way he wished for that. And the minute Gambopa inside the cave heard this, the name Milarepa, straight away, there was a very natural, inclination towards Milarepa, and great devotion just manifested out of him, and so much energy that it is said he kind of, he kind of passed out. He passed out. So you might think, how is that possible? Of course, you look at a long time back, I used to see once in the news, I saw the famous singer Michael Jackson. Yeah, he visited, I'm not sure where, I think it was Japan or somewhere. And then you could see when he coming, all the girls in the front faint, all of them pass out, so because of so much shock, because of so much excitement, so of course it's possible, so that way, of course, this is different. Here Gambopa, hearing Milarepa's name, and so he passed out with great joy, with great devotion. After he woke up, then he invited the three beggars into his retreat home, and then offered them a nice butter tea, sambar, and then asked them, where Milarepa resides, who this Milarepa is, and where is he, and how to get to him, how. So he asked every detail possible, and after studying every detail, then he there and then went on search to find this great yogi, Milarepa, and he went through a lot of hardship. He walked. At that time, everybody, I think, walked. So he walked for over a month or so, looking for Milarepa. So then finally he reached one place, and then there he found one elderly lady dressed in white cotton cloth, and she was sitting outside, in the sun. So he asked her, that it was somewhere near the place where Milarepa was. So he asked her, have you heard of a great master called Milarepa? Would you know how to show me the place, where he is? Could you help me? And then she told him, to come stay with her tonight. So tomorrow we can go. And she said that she was a student of Milarepa, and her daughter was also a student of Milarepa. And Milarepa had prophesied, that a great master from the central Tibet would come, and anybody who provide who serve this person and provide comfort to this person will accumulate great merit. And anybody who bring this person to me would accumulate great merit. So this lady wanted to serve him, so requested him to stay in her chapel, and so next day when her daughter comes, then two of them will lead him to Milarepa. So on hearing this, then he developed a little kind of ego, because Milarepa already prophesied him, say, a great master coming, anybody serving him would accumulate merit. And then he thought, that he is not just ordinary, he seems different. So to receive teaching from Milarepa wouldn't be so much of a problem, and to develop, progress in the path wouldn't be so much problem, difficulty for him. So he developed a little bit of ego. So this Milarepa at once could see, could understand this, and because of this, Milarepa told him, that you still have, this to be purified. You need to purify this. So he didn't get audience with Milarepa for another 2 to 3 weeks. So he was told to meditate, practice, purification under a big rock. So he was made to practice there, and didn't get direct audience. Then he had more or less kind of now given up on receiving any instruction or anything like this, because he wasn't even getting an audience. So, but of course he was still practicing diligently that way. And then after about 2 to 3 weeks, then Milarepa sent one of his students to call him. So and then at the place called Tashigang, place named Tashigang, then he met Milarepa. So Milarepa was sitting on a rock, a big rock, and then with his disciples, and there he had Thabo, so Gambopa met Milarepa for the first time. And there, then he was greatly received, very warmly received by Milarepa and his students. And then Milarepa offered him we call this millet beer, rice beer or millet beer. We call chang, chang in Tibetan. So on a kapala, a kapala full of chang beer. So he offered Gambopa, and Gambopa was a fully ordained monk. So he thought to himself, here in front of the great Milarepa, surrounded by the great students of Milarepa, I am supposed to be a fully ordained monk. So if I drink chang, which is alcohol, it goes against my vows. It goes against my precepts. So I don't think it is right. So he thought that way, and he was thinking to himself this. And at that moment, he was doubting to take the offer, and Milarepa told him, son, stop thinking too much. Be free of all this what you call unnecessary perceptions. Unnecessary creation of these perceptions. Stop doing that too much. And in the minute he heard that, he of course had great devotion to Milarepa. He just took the bowl of the chang and drank it up entirely, at one go without a drop left. And this was a great, it was a great symbol, sign that he would be able to, take in the entire lineage of, the Milarepa and able to absorb the entire, lineage and pass on the lineage to benefit all sentient beings. So this was a great moment, a great auspicious sign. So then, from this moment, he practiced very diligently and received all the teachings, practice from Milarepa, and finally attained the great realization. And then, of course, became the the principal, main disciple of Milarepa to uphold his entire lineage. Till Milarepa, the Marpa, Milarepa, all of them were the great yogis. So they weren't ordained monks. They were great yogis practicing the Mahamudra and Tantra. So that way, and then from Gambopa, then since Gambopa was a ordained monk, in the Kadamba tradition, so he mixed the Kadamba tradition and the Mahamudra and Tantra together, and from there, then the present, the fully ordained monk practicing the both Kadamba tradition and the Mahamudra Tantra together, started from Gambopa. So then, of course, later on, he established his monastic seat. It was called Tagla Gampo, where there was thousands of disciples, all practicing under him, and there he had many disciples, and principal disciples of him were, for example, the first Kamapa, Tusum Chemba, then Palpung Europe, then also like Saltong Shogum. So all these, there were a few great enlightened masters who were his disciples. And from them, one of the principal disciples is the first Kamapa, Tusum Chemba. Then, so there in his seat, and then he authored many texts to benefit beings, out of which, and then one is the Lamcho Rinchen Tengwa, the precious garland of the Supreme Heart that we are going to go through. So it is one of his teaching. Then he himself has said that in the future anyone who wish to have met me, but unable to kind of physically meet me, then anyone who learns these texts, makes any kind of contact with this text, and practices this text, then it is no different from meeting himself physically. It is no different from being his student. So his heart student. So he himself has said that. So that is a brief history of the author, Gamboba, and how this particular practice text came about. So now this particular text, the precious garland of supreme path, in Tibetan is called Chungpo Rinpoche Tengwa. So the meaning or the definition of this is, Lam Cho is the precious path, or the supreme path. So there are many paths. There's a path to become, rich. That is following the, for example, like the business, through business, you study, go to a good business school, learn the needs of the people, learn the mind of the people, and then do your business that way, right? So you become successful. So that is the path of a businessman, to become a successful businessman. For a sports person, his path is, be healthy, regularly exercise, train in whatever sports he is, playing, and gradually become a good sportsman. So that is his path. So there's many paths. Basically, path is that. But all these paths are kind of relative goal. Relative goal. It is through these paths one cannot achieve the ultimate happiness. Ultimate happiness. One cannot kind of develop or realize the primordial wisdom in oneself. So here Lam Cho, the Cho means the supreme or the best path. So the best path should be the path through which one is able to develop one is able to kind of reach the ultimate goal, which is ultimate everlasting happiness, which is the ultimate limitless potential that we all have. So able to realize this. So in another word, enlightenment. So the path through which one can attain enlightenment, the path through which one can recognize the limitless potential of oneself. So this is the precious path. This is the supreme path. So here, Lam Cho. So that kind of, to achieve that kind of limitless goal. So the path is put down. So that kind of path, which is. Then here it says Rinpoche, which is precious. So precious, in this world we have precious stones, which are called precious, but they are just stones. Some people like diamond, some people like ruby, some people like certain kind of stones. But depending on individual likes, they are precious. But just by having stones, a precious diamond, can it feed you? For example, of course, if you sell, maybe it will, kind of give you money to eat. Otherwise, you cannot eat the diamond itself. So if you land up in a place where there's no food, but you have a, kind of a 1 kg of diamond, is not going to help you in anything. You cannot eat that. If you eat that, it's going to kill you, right? So it is, of not much use. So here it is not that kind of precious. Here it is really precious because it can give you, this path can give you the ultimate happiness. So therefore it is the precious, most precious and the best path. So, and here Tengwa is rosary. Rosary normally in a bead everything is connected one after another, So therefore, it means like there's so many parts put down here. Like the bead, like for example, normally 108 beads in one mala, so there are 108, so 108 beads, so it symbolizes that, so many parts, so many methods. Basically, it shows there are many methods put down here to realize the primordial wisdom, so the precious part. So that is the definition of the title. So, whenever one sees the text, like this Dharma text, then it has certain qualities through which one will recognize whether it's a genuine Dharma text from a genuine master or not. So, when we examine the text, it always has three virtuous parts. For example, the first virtuous part, or the starting, the virtuous part, then the main body, the virtuous part, and then the ending virtuous part. So, like how when you write a letter also, there's a heading, the heading part where you write all the address and everything, then the main body where consists of your story, and then the end where you conclude the letter, right? So, same way, all the genuine Dharma texts, have these three virtuous parts.
Wenn wir also mit Dharma-Texten zu tun haben wie diesem hier, dann muss der gewisse Qualitäten aufweisen, damit er aufrichtig und authentisch ist. Wenn wir solche Texte jetzt untersuchen, dann sehen wir, dass er aus drei Bestandteilen oder drei Hundhaufenfarben selbst besteht. Das ist der Anfang, das ist der Hauptteil und das Ende. Und dann sagt Rinpoche, das ist so wie einen Brief zu schreiben, da haben wir sozusagen den Briefkopf, da geht es um die Adresse und dergleichen mehr. Dann die Geschichte selber, die wir erzählen wollen, und das Ende, wo es dann zur Schlussfolgerung und zum Ende kommt.
So, in the first virtuous part, it consists of two things, which is supplication and number two, the vow, making a vow. So two. So one makes supplication to the three jewels, to one's, the guru, etc. Through such, then what it does is, number one, it kind of prevents from any obstacles. Number two, it kind of destroys one's ego. One's ego, the author. The author's, it's supposed to have these qualities. And the second is, making commitment or oath. So the author always makes commitment that, when he starts something, he will complete it. So great men are like this. So they will not start anything. It's not that they have nothing to do. So and then do everything. So they will not just do anything just like that. But once they do something, they make sure it is completed. They make sure it is done well. So that is a sign of a good master, a great master. So that way, these are the kind of this is the kind of pattern that one will see when to judge whether the book or whether the teaching is genuine, whether the author is genuine. Then the main virtuous part, of course, is the main practice. So the main practice, like here we have many practice put down. So these are the main practice. And the end, the dedication. So dedication, making dedication through this practice put down. So the merit accumulated, then dedicate for all mother sentient beings to realize the primordial wisdom in each one of themselves. So that is the dedication part. So these three are the three virtuous parts. So here now the first part, which already I said, is the supplication, supplication part. So here in Tibetan, I will read Tibetan and English together. So it says, Namo Guru, Kangan Shi, Kurwe Jansu Jikso Rongshin, gal kawale rolar zebe kajur boche choba number tabe jin shinda ji chujun chanso chimbu ing tar semi sheba nanam ja cheshin yurwa tunji dube duju timame be nama tanda namda chacha shin japsu cheo shinji nabu so so here it says Namo Guru to those who liberate beings from the terrifying ocean of samsara that is so hard to cross, who are adorned with the pure practice of the precious Kaju, whose river of blessings is inexhaustible like the expanse of ocean, to the holy Guru of the stainless practice lineage of Vas, far-seeing, spontaneously accomplished aspiration, I pay homage and go for refuge. I pray that you engulf me with your splendor. So here, basically, then Gambopa is praying to all the great enlightened masters, in particular the Kaju masters, who here by saying Namo Guru, so that is supplication. Namo means supplication in Sanskrit. Guru is Nama, we say in Tibetan Nama, which means one, the greatest, nothing that can be greater than that. So the greatest of the great. So Guru, one's master, all the Kaju masters. And then he says, you all who, through your great compassion, loving kindness, manifest the precious Dharma, through which then one who is dwelling in the samsara ocean of suffering can free themselves from this ocean of suffering to the ultimate state of realization. So you who manifest this blessing, which is like the water, to grow. Supposing you grow vegetable or plant, then the water, you water the plant so that it can kind of provide life to the plant. So same way, your teaching, your blessing is like that for those beings wandering in the suffering ocean of the suffering of samsara, to free them from this suffering to the ultimate realization. So I supplicate to you through all of your the great enlightened masters, through your great loving kindness, compassion, and the aspiration to liberate all beings. So through such limitless aspiration, then your blessing is like ever present. Like the great, like the water, which is, when the water flows, there's no break. When it doesn't flow, stop, flow, right? It flows continuously. So that way, your blessing is like that continuously. Your blessing is continuously benefiting or blessing all the limitless beings because of your great aspiration. So such blessing, then may you bless. May I supplicate to you, great masters, and may your blessings shower on all of us. So this is the first. Now the second part, which is the commitment, the taking the commitment part. So here it says, Kaju Tedade Chungwe Sungi Jun Yun Rinpoche la Nakar Sede Nguitan Juji Rani la Yi Dongwe Kalden Namda Shindu Jibe Damna Namcho to Churba Rinpoche Tema Sheshawashi Ige Risu Köbar Jiho Teyan Tenji Kanza Tarbata Tamje Chimbe Sanje Topar 2b, so 2b. So here he's saying, having considered for a long time the oral tradition that has come from those Kaju kajus, I will write down a precious garland of the Supreme Path, instructions that are extremely valuable to those fortunate ones who directly or indirectly venerate me. So here he is making the commitment that through reflecting on these great practices, teachings of the great enlightened masters, then through all that, then he will put down the instructions. So here it shows that the importance of the living lineage. He doesn't create something just new. What he thinks, just creating. Here he is saying from the great lineage of the Kagyu masters, which of course when you go back, start from the Buddha. So right from the Buddha till his time, the living lineage passed on from one to the other. So keeping that in mind, then in accordance with that, then he will put down. He's putting down this precious, he's putting down precious points. Precious points known as which is known as the precious garland of the Supreme Path, to benefit those who have great devotion and faith in him. So whether it is his immediate disciples who have direct connection with him, or the disciples who have the connection with him indirectly. Like for example us, we haven't seen him directly, but then through the living lineage, then we are receiving his teaching. So that way, directly or indirectly to benefit, then he is putting down these practices. Some of us must be thinking, now time is finishing, when will we get down to the part? So when will we get down to the practice? But we are already in the practice. This is the practice. Understanding Gamboba's history, understanding these procedure, that is the practice. Without understanding the source of the practice, how can we practice? So how can we develop devotion? How can we develop understanding? So if we have no devotion, if we don't understand where the practice comes from, then our practice, how do we practice? So we are already practicing. It is said that great people with very high level of wisdom, just by understanding the name of this practice, one can entirely grasp the entire practice. You don't have to go through one by one. With the name, you will be able to realize the entire practice. People with great wisdom, very high level of wisdom. Then those who don't have such level, then till now whatever we have been discussing, that is enough to grasp the practice. And to those who have some level of intelligence, but people like us, then one by one going through the practice is important. So it is said like that. Now here, so now the first practice, it says the 10 causes of loss. So those individuals wishing to attain liberation and omniscient Buddhahood should from the beginning recollect the 10 causes of loss. So one must reflect on these 10 causes of loss. So first one, it says, so this pure human body, or the precious human life, so difficult to acquire, is lost in wrongdoing. So that is a big loss. So here when we say precious human life, we have obtained life that is that through which we have certain freedoms. For example, we have the freedom of common sense. There are many out there who don't have common sense. Who suffer from mental stability. Then there are other beings who are very, of course, nice. Like for example, a dog. we love dogs, right? Everybody loves dogs. They are beautiful beings, very faithful, very loving. But if we compare their intelligence and if we compare our intelligence, it is undoubted that we have greater intelligence. That is why we are the master, that is why they are our pet, right? Otherwise it would be the other way around, right? So that way we enjoy this intelligence. Then also we enjoy let's say freedom of what we want to do. So not all human not all human beings have enjoyed this precious human life. We are talking about precious human life. So not all human life is precious. Because you see out there are human lives which don't have opportunity or freedom to do what they want. From morning till evening, they are forced to do something to make a livelihood. They don't have time to receive the Dharma. They don't have time to practice. They don't have time to do what they want to do. So like this. Then there are lives where we are born into, let's say, for example, let's say like a butcher's life. Butcher's life. Somebody who is born into a family like a butcher's family, a very poor family, and then from generation to generation they are killing. They are killing. So first of all, it is very difficult for them to have the intelligence that killing is a non-virtuous action. So it will not strike easily because it is kind of automatic thing carried out from one to another like this. And then even if that does strike, that is their job. So they have no education, they have no financial kind of stability to do anything else. So they are in that. So they are forced to do that. So that way always accumulating kind of negative karma. So that way. So these are not precious human life. But here we have precious human life. We don't have to do such thing. We have the freedom to choose what we want to do. We have the freedom to reflect on what is good, what is bad. We have the freedom to choose what we would like to experience, and to experience that, what should we do? So that way we have all this freedom. Then also, we have some level of suffering and some level of happiness. So there is a limitation to our happiness, there is a limitation to our suffering. Which is a great teacher for us. Because if we have no suffering, then we would not think of overcoming that. If we have a lot of all the time, kind of enjoying the kind of samsaric pleasure. It is said that the gods, samsaric gods, they have a lot of power. They have lots of lots of wealth, lots of everything. So they are always happy in their world. That when the time does come to die, it is too late to do any practice or too late to reflect on anything, because they have wasted their time only on enjoyment. And then when it changes to suffering, to face suffering is very difficult, because they are not prepared for this. But for us, we have some level of suffering, some level of happiness. So because we have some level of suffering, we want to overcome this suffering. So we do whatever is best. We are trying to learn, we are trying to practice to overcome this suffering. So this suffering becomes a motivation, kind of a motivation, kind of a reminder to us, to get to the other side. So it is important for us. And also we don't have always suffering, in the realms like hungry ghosts, hell realm, etc., where they're always continuously suffering because of their karma. So no time to experience any freedom, no time to experience any any kind of pleasure. So that is also, we don't have that kind of problem also. So all these things we enjoy. So because of our good karma, accumulated in our previous lifetimes or in this lifetime also, and then we are able to come in contact with the precious Dharma. the path through which one can achieve the ultimate happiness. So that is also the most important quality. Here, of course, precious human life has 18 qualities, and there's many other qualities, but mainly so we can kind of figure out that it is not just a human life. There is lots of human lives, but this is what we have is not just a human life, but a precious human life. So that is why it says here pure human body, or in Tibetan it says milu tsangma. Here that tsangma is pure or clean. That defines precious human life, not just ordinary human life. So we have obtained this precious human life in this life. So it says to just waste it, not trying to utilize this to advance in our mental state, physical state, in all kind of level, to realize the ultimate potential in us, without trying to do that, just wasting ordinary beings, just morning wake up, eat, evening sleep, and then waste your life day by day, go like that doing nothing, and then the time comes when you will die, and then finish. So too late to do anything. So if one wastes that way, without utilizing this meaningful, precious human life, then it is a big loss to see. So number one. So therefore, we must understand the quality that we have, our life, how precious this is. First, we must understand how precious this life is, how difficult it is to achieve this life, and then try to, every day make use of this life, improve our life. The human quality that we have, we must, improve the quality. That is very important. Then here it says that it emphasizes on wrongdoing. If we waste on wrongdoing, then that is a big loss. So understanding as we discussed yesterday in the law of interdependence. If we do positive action, then the result is positive happiness. If we do negative, non-virtuous action, then the result is suffering. So that way, understanding this, then if we just waste this life on non-virtuous actions, harming others, creating disharmony amongst oneself and surrounding, so all like this, then it is a big loss, it says. So one must always adapt to virtuous actions through which one will be able to enjoy or benefit oneself and others. So that way one improves one's life. And it is also said that what you were in the past, you look at what you are right now. And what you will be in the future, you look at what you are doing right now. So that is important. Which means that every action has result. Virtuous action cannot have a bad result. A good action cannot have a bad result. A bad action cannot have a good result. So it is always good action has good result. Bad action has bad result. So that is the law of action. So therefore, understanding this, then we must utilize this precious human life in virtuous activity. Virtuous activity of the mind, virtuous activity of the body, virtuous activity of the speech. And the second is so it says the pure human body, or the precious human life, body with its freedom, so with all the freedoms that we discussed, few of them, and resources so difficult to possess, is lost in ordinary physical death without Dharma. So here it is saying that if then if we, after obtaining this precious human life, which has so many qualities, so many freedom, which is full of power to change. If we lose that, without any utilizing any of those qualities, then if we die, then it is a big loss. So there's a story, that in the past, I don't know here how whether you believe in India, we believe that in the long time back, people go out into the ocean to kind of acquire precious precious belongings. So I guess it's like corals and all these which are in the sea. You get. So otherwise I can't think of any other. So of course some think of there's gods in the ocean. The wealth god which will give you wealth from there, etc. But basically, so it is like somebody go into the land of precious gem and then come back empty-handed. It is like a rich person having all the money in his bank but unable to use them. Too stingy to use them and living like a poor person. Not able to eat well, not able to wear good clothes, not able to help people. So he just hold on to his money, and one day he will die without being able to utilize his money. Which is hard-earned money. So like this. So then it is very it is something a big loss. So one mustn't do that. One must utilize this precious human life. Then the third point here it says, so the brief human life in the age of decadence or in the degenerating time is lost and used up in a meaningless activity. So here what it means by brief human life is it emphasizes impermanence. So the life that we have is impermanent. We don't know when we will lose this. So when we have this, we must fully make use of it. When we have this human life full of quality, we must utilize that quality. Otherwise, it is impermanent. It is not something that is permanent. There's an example like a candle put out in the open. So when a candle light, you light a candle light and then put out in the open, you don't know when the wind will come and blow off the candle. So we don't know when. It might be able to light out the complete lifespan, or it might get blown off at any moment. So same way, here it says especially in the degenerating time, which means say in the old days, the chances of losing one's life unnaturally. Naturally, there is of course different, but not naturally are less chances. For example, at the most you would do is fall off the horse, right? And then if you are a good rider, that is also very difficult to fall off the horse and bang your head. So the chances of dying that way is very less. But nowadays we have so much advancement. Cars become stronger. So when the cars become stronger means faster. More powerful. When it's faster means more difficult to handle. And if you have a crash, very difficult to survive. So like this. Then airplanes. Before you fall off a horse, one person died. But nowadays, one plane crash, hundreds of people died. So in a way, it is advanced. It is in a way, it is a great invention that through which we can, go around the world. But in another way, the ways to lose this life is also, it is quite risky. So that way, it says in degenerating times. Then also, people abusing oneself. It's increasing. So that way, there's many such things happening so that is why degenerating time means that way. So here it says that in such degenerating times, so our life, which our lifespan becomes even shorter because of such surroundings, because of such things. Our life, which we already have, becomes even more shortened with, if not careful, during the degenerating times. So then, so this life, then if we lose it without any, without any meaningful, activity of this life, then that is a very big loss. So one must not lose this life in meaningless activity. One must utilize this life in a meaningful manner. Then the fourth point is Rangsam Chubu Rangjin Tumende Tupakomi Dandashin Pang. So here it is saying this mind whose nature is the Dharmakaya beyond elaboration is lost and mere in the swamp of samsaric confusion. And so that is a big loss. So here it is saying that it is stressing, or it is pointing out that one's nature is limitless. Our potential, the nature that we all beings have is Buddha by nature. So we are pure, we are perfect. We are, we have limitless potential. But despite having such, great, limitless potential, then if we are kind of, immersed in the this limitless potential, which is free of all kind of delusions, which is free of all kind of confusions. Yet, if we lose into the confusion of let's say, to make it simple, say we have such good quality, but if we don't understand that and mix it into such a low kind of like non-virtuous activity. If we live with non-virtuous activity, then we are contaminating this great quality that we have, the great nature, the limitless potential that we have. We are bringing such a precious thing down into such a low level, by contaminating it with non-virtuous limited things, like ego, gossiping, etc. For example, through harmful thoughts, through non-virtuous thoughts, through lying, gossiping, etc. So these kind of actions, so through these kind of actions, then one contaminates one's this pure nature. So that is a very sad. It is a big loss. So one mustn't do that. One mustn't confuse oneself with such such level of thoughts. For example, we see somebody doing very well, then we have great jealousy. So through our jealousy, we try to spread rumor, trying to harm that person, saying all sorts of things, gossiping and all this. So that way, creating so much of unhappiness for others, and yourself also very unhappy, of course. That is why jealousy itself is unhappiness. So you have so much unhappiness. But you have the so this is how it contaminates. It is how you throw yourself into the swamp of samsara, I have to say. So instead of doing this, if we recognize this and develop joy for this other person, he's doing so well, such a wonderful thing. I hope he can make a big difference to everybody. I hope he can through that benefit everybody. So then you rejoice for that. So that way you emit positive atmosphere. You emit positive energy. So if you are able to do that, then this person's the positive energy also will kind of benefit you. So that is how one should do. Practically, when one practices, one has to do that. And the fifth, so it is saying the holy guru who leads one on the path is lost if one is separate from him at any time until one attains awakening. So it says the Guru or the Lama who leads you or who shows you the right path, the proper path through which one can achieve this ultimate happiness. Then if one kind of loses this guide, so then it is a great loss. So one must always uphold. So here it doesn't mean always kind of hanging on to the Lama. It doesn't mean kind of following your teacher all the time. It doesn't mean so that kind of thing. It means what the teacher teaches you. What the according to the the lineage, what he teaches you. So one must uphold that. One must practice that. So as long as one is practicing this, then one is always with the Lama. Because the Lama is what? He is the guide who will guide you to liberation. So how does he guide you to liberation? Is through the path. So as long as one practices the path, then one is always with the Lama. So here it means that way. So one must understand that. Not just you don't follow any of the teaching, but always with the Lama. Following the Lama everywhere, it is not of much use. So one must understand this. Sixth one, Tabi choosing Domba Tamzite, Nyumon Pamitin Wangki, Nyumon Pamitin Wangki, Ship. So here the vows and samaya, the ship of liberation, are lost in destruction of clashes, carelessness, and adverse conditions. So here it is saying, the boat that takes you, or the tool that takes you to the liberation, to the state of perfect happiness, is the virtuous activity, virtuous actions, one's action. So if one abandons virtuous actions or virtuous activity and abides by the non-virtuous activity, then that will lead one to more suffering, and one will not obtain the liberation. So that is a big loss. So one must always abide by virtuous activity. Such as from the physical, abstain from killing, abstain from stealing, abstain from kind of sexual misconduct, so etc. So these are the three physical activity. And then speech is abstain from lying, abstain from kind of creating confusion or creating problems amongst people or others, so that kind of thing. And then abstain from using harsh words, harming people. Then abstain from gossiping. So such things are the kind of speech through speech. So misconduct through speech. So abstaining from such. And then the mind, through the mind, is abstain from covetousness, which is one wishing ill, kind of unnecessarily wishing ill for others, and then abstain from bad thoughts, like mean thoughts to others, harmful thoughts to others, and then abstain from wrong views, such as wrong view means good has no good, bad has no, like if you do bad action, it has no good result. I mean, it has no bad result. If you do good action, it has no good result. So like these kind of wrong views. If you kill somebody, you are not harming anybody. If you are good to somebody, you are not kind of benefiting anybody. So that kind of wrong views. So one must abstain from such views. So these are the kind of general virtuous ways of living. The seventh, nami tingji rang ni pitoba de duji changjing gi sidu tor pang. So the experience and realization that one has acquired through the intercession of one's guru are lost in the forest of mental formation. So here basically it means that with the loving kindness compassion of the Lama, then when one receives all instructions all instructions for the path of liberation, then one practicing it kind of experiences, acquires some kind of experience, but when one receives that, then utilizes in a more due to one's laziness, uses in the samsaric benefits. Then that is a big loss. So instead of improving it, then because of one's laziness will degenerate, by not practicing it. So that is a big loss. Then it tutot jimenga samote menakami namda sondu chongpang. So the profound instruction of siddhas are lost by being sold to the unworthy. So here means the precious Dharma that one receives, the very sacred, precious, profound Dharma that one receives. Then if one shows them to people who are incapable of practicing them, and then for the purpose of self-recognition, for the purpose of self accumulation of material wealth, etc., then that is a big loss, it is seen. So, like how very profound, concentrated medicine, if you give it to people, who should not be taking it, then it can greatly harm them. So it should be given to people who really need them, how in the proper method, in the proper way. So that way, even the precious Dharma, the profound Dharma, it has to be shown to the the proper proper recipient. You cannot just go around giving, because the profound Dharma, it sounds great, it sounds fancy. So just to create interest, just for your fame, just for your name, if you sell them, then that is a very serious serious loss, serious action. Now, ninth one, and Roa Senjin Chinjim Hamanam Damri Simji Pong Pang. So, sentient beings, one's kind parents are lost when one abandons them through anger. So, through one's, it's said that beings, the loving kindness, compassion towards beings is a must, towards limitless beings. Because we are, trying to discover, or we are trying to realize the limitless potential in oneself. So when it is limitless potential, to realize that limitless potential, then the tool or the method also has to be limitless. Only through generating loving kindness, compassion towards limitless beings, it is possible to recognize this primordial wisdom in oneself. So when it is such, then just because of one's anger, one gives up, benefiting beings, then it is a big loss. Because because of such small reason, then one will not be able to achieve this great result, which is complete liberation. So therefore, abandoning sentient beings for an act of anger, etc., is a big loss. A simple example, when we are able to benefit somebody, when we are able to do something nice to somebody, and when we see the result, it doesn't give us suffering. It gives us great joy. When we are able to benefit somebody, automatically we feel very happy. We feel a great joy. So this is a simple example. When you harm somebody, then we never feel happy. When we are angry with somebody, when we have these mental, confusion, through that we never enjoy any happiness. We enjoy suffering. When we have anger, this is suffering. So by harming somebody, we will not enjoy any benefit. Whereas when we are able to benefit others, automatically we enjoy happiness. So this is a simple proof. We cannot benefit somebody and see the result and suffer. We cannot say, I have benefited so and so. I feel so much suffering. This feeling does not come. So that is a simple proof. Now the last 10th, so it says, one's youthful three gates are lost in ordinary indifferences. So that's a big loss. So it says when one is physically kind of able, mentally able, oratorically able. So then if one wastes that, then that is a big loss. So when you are physically able, you must do physical activities to benefit others, benefit yourself. When you are mentally sound, you must be able to you must be able to do actions which will benefit yourself and others. So that way, through the three doors, then one must utilize when you have the freedom, when you have the control, you must do that. When we are sick, bedridden at the end of your life, then if you want to do many things, it's very difficult. It's too late to do. So when you have the ability, then we must use that. So here it is saying, so unable to do that, then reflecting at the last minute is too late. So that is a big loss. Okay. So we end the morning session here. So we dedicate.